time. We're going to start this presentation. Good morning, everybody. My name is Noah again. I'm one of the educators with Shortcuts, and today we're going to be doing a live review, a live question and answer session on the new build of Shortcuts, Shortcuts 8.1, Shortcuts 2021. So I do apologize for anybody that signed up last week. We had a technical glitch, and it looked like Microsoft Security was not allowing me to connect online for any reason. So it took us a couple hours to resolve. And of course, I tested it this morning before this presentation to make sure that we didn't have that interruption. So apologies to anybody that signed up. So today we're going to be looking at Shortcuts 8.1. If you've never sat in on a classroom session, this has a familiar format. We are recording this presentation. So if you signed up and you have to drop out, or if you just signed up and you want to receive this video later, we should be sending out a link a little bit after it's converted. So we allowed ourselves about 30-45 minutes this morning, and at any point during the presentation, you can actually ask questions. Normally, we'll do it at the end, but if you have your chat bar, if you have your question bar on the right side, as I start to go through shortcuts, go ahead and let me know if there's something specific I need to jump to, or if you have any other questions on the system. So this is for everybody that is interested in the newest build of shortcuts, or that already has it and you need to see what some of the new features are, or you're thinking about upgrading. So let's actually jump into the system. So we're going to look at the changes that we've made to the big three. So the appointment book, the walk-in manager, and the point of sale. How do we optimize them? How do we streamline them? And the last thing we're going to talk about is our new integrated payment system. So if you have one of our older partners, or you don't have a credit card system, or you have a standalone credit card system that doesn't integrate with Shortcuts, we're going to talk about the advantages of our newest one, our new integrated payment system. So let's actually jump into Shortcuts. So we're going to start with the actual appointment book, and then we're going to talk about the walk-in manager. So most of you are familiar with this screen. So it still looks like a Shortcuts 7, Shortcuts 8. Oh, somebody has a question. Diana has a question. Does this apply to Canadian clients? For Diana, to clarify, for the version of Shortcuts I have, or for integrated payments, everything that I'm reviewing right now should still technically count for everybody that's in North America, the US, Canada. And in fact, the version of Shortcuts we're using right now is the one that's in Shortcuts Australia and Shortcuts in the UK. I don't think we're going to talk about anything that isn't available to North America. Okay, so I think that answers the question. So on the appointment book, it looks very familiar if you've been using Shortcuts Fusion, or even the first build of Shortcuts 8. So the names of the staff members are across the top of the screen. On the left side are the hours of the day, and you'll notice they're the business hours. So in my pretend salon, I'm open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So it only shows me that amount of the day. At the bottom of my screen, I have the ability to go forwards and backwards on my appointment book, one day or 1 week at a time. So all of this should be familiar to you if you use the appointment book. What we've changed, however, happens at the top of the screen and with the customers themselves. So let's start at the top. So I have 4 staff members: Andy, Sam, Joe, and Stevie. And if you notice, there's a little dot to the right of their name. For Joe and Stevie, the dot is green. That lets me know that these staff members are actually clocked on and working. So if your business requires the staff members to clock in and out so that you accurately track their time, they can actually click on their names. And I'll click on Sam, for example. And on the top right, I actually have a button that allows me to clock on or off. So the staff doesn't necessarily have to go to the performance window to clock in or out. They can just press that button. So the little green dot lets me know the staff is clocked on, they're ready for work. If, let's say, Sam is going to go on a coffee break and he's going to be unavailable for a little bit, At the bottom of the screen, I have the ability to say maybe I'm away for 15 minutes. You'll notice that the little dot, the color, changes to yellow. So that's just warning me for the next 15 minutes, Sam is unavailable. He either can't take this appointment or he can't take a walk-in customer. And of course, when he returns, he can just press the return button. So we've combined a number of features that used to be available only in the walk-in manager, and we've added them to the appointment book. We've also combined features that were reserved for a double click and a right click, and we've made them all a single click option. So if I single click on the bottom left, let's say somebody is asking about Sam's availability for later this week. On the bottom left, if I press View Week, I can filter and just see Sam's availability for this week. And if I click the pull-down menu on the bottom left, I can see up to 3 weeks in advance for Sam. So this was something that was previously reserved for a right-click command, but we're trying to streamline the interface. So a single click allows us to get access to their schedule for the week. On the bottom right, I have a print option. So if it's a very busy day and Sam wants to know the color formulas or the notes for the customer, I can press print and I have a few options. I can print up today's appointments, I can print up the schedule, or even the client profile card. So the client profile card will include the customer's name and number, what service they're having, and their last 3 history notes. So if you're a very busy salon and your staff needs to get to the color bar, and usually your receptionist will print up their tickets for the day, you can go directly to each employee and just print that CPC. Now, these features are controlled by security. So if you do not want the staff clocking in and out from this window, we can disable that. Or I should say you can disable that. If you don't want them having access to print anything or to change their security PIN, then you can disable some of these features. But these are very functional and they help your staff, they help your front desk when they need to get staff members enrolled and ready to see their schedule. So right away at the top of the screen, we've combined a number of features and we made them very easy access with single clicks. So what about the customers? Now, if you remember in Shortcuts Fusion, whenever you click the name of a customer, at the bottom of the screen, Shortcuts would present what's called a touch tip. It would be a yellow box that has the name of the customer, perhaps their contact number, what service they're getting, and whether the appointment was made online or in person. So the touch tip now actually appears directly over the appointment. So if I click on Jen on the left column, the touch tip pops up next to her appointment. It'll give me the name, the number, what service she's getting. And if you notice, there's a little pencil next to Jen's name. And that little pencil appears next to any customer's name when I select them. When I press the pencil, it gives me access directly to their client card. So again, it's a single click. A single click right away starts to give me more access or more control than a right click or a double click in the previous build of Shortcuts. So that's one of the useful features. But the other thing, if you have a front desk person or if you have staff and you want to make sure that the staff follows through with every customer, you'll notice there is a confirm button on the bottom of the screen. And this button actually changes based on the status of their visits. So think of it in this step. The green color on the appointment book represents just an appointment. If the customer has confirmed, that's usually the first step, whether we call them in person, send them an email or a text. So that changes the color to, that light green, that almost aqua color. Now, if I click on the appointment again, the next logical step is the customer has arrived. So you'll notice the button changed to arrived. And of course, that changes it to blue. Once the customer is done, if you click on the appointment, it changes it to checkout. So all of those steps, confirmed, arrived, checkout, just one click, single clicks from the appointment book will walk the staff or walk you through the process of arriving and checking them out, so that the staff gets in the habit of this and they know who's available, who's currently in a chair, all of that. Now you still have the ability to right click, and all of the functionality you had previously still exists. So I can undo the confirmation, I can undo the arrival. So the right click for the status still exists. But some of those features are not only at the bottom, but on the bottom right. If you notice, on the bottom right of the touch tip, there's 3 dots. If I press this, these are some of the functions that were available with a right-click command. So again, instead of having to double-click, instead of having to right-click, staff members can now select an appointment and access everything with a single click. So whether you're using the mouse or if you have a touchscreen display, this makes shortcuts a lot easier to work with. It has a lot more functionality now that these things are combined. Now, this is probably one of the nicest new features that we've added. So if your staff is very busy and you don't necessarily see an opening on the appointment book, but you're fairly certain somebody at a certain time is available, on the left side of the screen where the hours are, and you'll still see me scrolling up and down on the hours. Let's say a customer comes in, they don't have a preferred stylist or employee, they just want to know, is somebody available at 12 o'clock to do a haircut? So I can just click on the 12 o'clock time on the left of the screen, and then shortcuts will allow me to search for a customer and choose a service for them. And if an employee is available, it will drop it in with the first available employee. So let's say I search for a name, and I think I'm in the database. Here I am. So I am a salon regular. I don't have a preferred employee, and I'm coming in for a haircut, men's haircut. So again, I just clicked on the clock. I didn't click on any particular column. So shortcuts will try to find somebody, and right away it noticed Andy was available at 12, and it gave him the appointment. I do have the ability to, of course, slide that appointment over to anybody else, so all of that functionality still exists. So this is going to help your front desk. If they don't necessarily see an opening, they can click on the time, and let's say I had chosen a time that was not available. In that case, the appointment assistant will say, there is no employee available. Would you like the assistant to help you book an appointment? So the assistant's going to look for a later time or another day. So that is actually a highlight of the new features in the appointment book. We've streamlined it. We've made it a lot easier to get customers in the chair, to move the appointments around, to search for the staff, search for availabilities. So is there anybody that's using the previous build of shortcuts or the new build of shortcuts, and you have other questions on the appointment book or the functionality? So I'll pause for a moment. So if you could, go ahead and use that chat or use that question bar. Now let's see, I think somebody raised their hand. Lynn, did you have a question, or did the little hand just go up randomly? Okay. Chrissy has a question. We have had a hard time changing services from one to another with the same client. A hard time changing services from one to another with the same client. Now, is it the question of adding a service, changing the service that the customer was originally coming in for? Or if you could clarify, Chrissy, the question. While she's typing out the response, let's say I had a customer, in this case, Sam has Lynn. She's coming in with a color and perhaps two staff members are going to work with Lynn. One's going to do the color, one's going to do a haircut. If you use shortcuts, and this is true whichever build you're using, you'll notice that every appointment is in two shades, a light shade and a dark shade, regardless of the status. So even if I change this to arrived, you'll notice that even in blue, it's a light shade of blue and a dark shade of blue. This is something that trips up the people that are new to shortcuts. If I need to move the appointment, perhaps assign the finishing to Joe, I would click and drag the light shade. Again, regardless of status. So if I change it to undo arrived, so it's in green, I'm clicking the light shade of green, and that allows me to move the appointment up, down, left, or right. Now, if I need to change the length of the appointment, that's when I would click and drag the darker shade. So I notice that I say dark shade and light shade instead of left and right, because if the appointment gets long, then the colors actually change position. The light shade now appears on top and the dark on the bottom. So this is one potential thing. But let me go back to Chrissy's question. So say book for solid color, and then they have a balayage instead. When we use the change service feature, it shuts the program down. Then we probably want to check with support to see if this is exclusive to your build, if it has to be patched or upgraded. So I can actually try that. So I'm going to say Al here. We're going to change his service. So I can right click and I can change his service. So I'm going to change it from a haircut to a massage even. And of course, it works for me. I'm on a newer build. So Chrissy, let's find out which build of shortcuts you're on and whether or not it needs a patch, because that does not sound correct. There's definitely something wrong there, and we can investigate it. Okay, let's see, who else has a question? Lynn has a question. I am wondering why appointments made online don't appear in the appointment book as a yellow box, just 2 lines and dark text. So most of you that use Shortcuts Fusion, you'll remember that if an appointment is made online, it usually shows up in yellow to draw attention to it, that this appointment requires a review or that this appointment was made online. So when you select it, Shortcuts will usually say this appointment was made online or using the app, whatever the case is. So again, Chrissy, Lynn, I believe, asked the question. So Lynn, again, we need to find out which version of Shortcuts you're running, if it needs to be updated or upgraded. So let's absolutely look at that, because what you're describing doesn't sound correct. So it might be an old build of Shortcuts 8.1. We'll probably just need to update it. And it was just updated? Then I absolutely want to follow up with you. I'm going to ask our help desk manager to take a look. We can make a backup of your database and investigate why that's happening. Thanks for bringing it to my attention. All right. So if that's happening on anybody else's recent update, absolutely let us know. We need to find out why that's happening, or if this is an isolated incident. Okay. Are there any other questions with regards to the appointment book? If not, I'm going to move over to the walk-in manager. So some of the locations we work with, they either use the appointment book or they use the walk-in manager. And some locations are hybrid. Well, they'll actually use both of them. So for walk-in manager, you'll notice that the staff names are at the top of the screen, just like they are in the appointment book. So this is something that's a little bit different from the previous walk-in manager. And just like the appointment book, we still have the ability to clock in, clock out by selecting the names at the top of the screen, and of course, saying that you're going to be away or unavailable for a few minutes. And this will reflect on your wait times. This will reflect on your wallboard if you have one of those television sets that shows what the wait list is like, how many minutes. So any changes you make here, whether it's clocking in or setting away, will affect that time. You'll also notice if you're used to our previous walk-in manager that there used to be a column in the middle that allowed me to move appointments from the wait list on the left into service on the right. And we've replaced that. We've just eliminated that entirely. So we just go either from the wait list directly to in service. So from this window, I can take the first few customers. I'll say, and Julia and Wally. So they're all in the chair, they're all getting service. And all I have to do is press the arrow that points to the right to move these customers into service. And from this window, if a customer is ready to check out, on the right side, you'll notice there's a shopping cart icon. And if I press the shopping cart icon, it puts the customer directly into the point of sale. So it tells Shortcuts this customer is ready to check out. Now, I will talk a little bit about the point of sale screen in just a moment, but let me go back to the walk-in manager. So if a single customer is checking out, that's what you would do. And from the walk-in manager, if multiple customers are checking out, it's actually as easy as clicking the checkbox to the left of their name once they're in service. So in this case, George, Danye, and Julia. I've selected those three names, and now if I press the shopping cart icon on any one of those three customers, Shortcuts will group them together and put them in the point of sale ready for checkout. So let's go ahead and cache these people out. I'll do Visa, for example, and we'll just cache them out. And does anybody require an email? I'll say no receipt for now. And just like that, now I can put the other customers into service. So Sam can take an appointment, and unfortunately everybody else is with either Sam or Joe, so they'll have to wait. So right away you can see that we've streamlined the functionality of the walk-in manager, and what we've added here is something that's new. So the appointments on the left, the ones for John and Lana, those are already on our appointment book. So by default, the walk-in manager will display upcoming appointments anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, so you can set how far in advance this is going to appear. But if I have a walk-in customer and somebody just walks in, and let's say Mike comes in, and Mike's a new client, and Mike just wants a haircut. So I'm not necessarily recording details, just a first name. He's going to get a men's haircut with any available employee. So Shortcuts recognizes Stevie had just checked somebody out. Does he want to go into service now or wait? And he'll say, I'll absolutely go into service. So Stevie is doing the haircut. So just like that, I've checked in a walk-in customer and I've put him in service. So this is nothing new. This is something you could do with all the previous builds of Shortcuts. What has changed, however, is now walk-in customers actually get pushed up to the appointment book. So you'll notice Stevie on his column, right in the middle of Julia's appointment, there's the walk-in customer, Mike. So Shortcuts will actually show us on the appointment book who was a walk-in and give us some information. The not the appointments, but the walk-ins from the walk-in manager never previously pushed up to the appointment book. They would show up on your reports, they would show up on your transactions, but you didn't see any of the walk-ins here. So this has been changed, and now you can actually see that. So that's a new feature. Now both the walk-in manager and the appointment book communicate back and forth. Okay. So that is a general overview of what's been updated in the walk-in manager. Is there anybody that's using the walk-in manager that wants to review something or has a question? So I'll take a look here. And I'll wait a moment. And I don't think we're getting any questions on the walk-in manager. I'll hit refresh though. Oh, I think Diana stepped out. Okay, so let's go to the next portion, which is point of sale. So point of sale. If you've attended any of the regular classroom sessions that I do, you'll actually notice that all of the new classes are using the new build of shortcuts. But if you're new to this build of the point of sale, let's highlight a few things. For starters, you'll notice that some of the buttons that we're used to have moved position. So I let everybody know that's used to shortcuts. Imagine somebody just held a mirror up to this, so things have just moved from one side to the other. So for example, the transactions button, where you normally do your start of day, end of day, we moved it from the top right to the bottom left. So that button now exists down here, and you still have all of the functionality you're used to. Start of day, end of day, go back through your histories, make your adjustments. We did change some wording though. When you're looking at your transactions, we changed start and end of day to sessions. So start session, end session. But all of the steps are still the same. Also, more actions is the button now that allows us to open the register, or if we're tracking petty cash or handling any cash transfers. So that's immediately under the transactions button now. So we've added those two together. We've placed them near each other. The buttons that used to appear on the bottom left have been moved to the bottom right. So we've combined a few of them. So whether it's debit or credit or any other type of card, those have all been combined on the card button. Cash, of course, is a standalone button. On the following row, we have gift cards, gift certificates, and loyalty all appear on one button, and other. So if you have accounts that you work with, that would be under other, or any alternate payment types. The other thing that we've changed on this window is on the top left. We used to have a button that says clients. So when you pressed that button, it would allow you to search for a customer and bring them directly into the point of sale. Instead, we have new sale, which still allows you to search for a customer and bring them directly into the point of sale. So in this case, let's say I'm visiting the business and I'm going to buy a product. So I'm going to go get some hairstay. So once we've added our product, you'll notice there's a plus minus button on the quantity screen. You still have the ability to click on quantity and say I'm getting 2 bottles, and I can type it in. Or you can just press the plus minus button. If I want to delete this particular product, I actually have a trash can icon on the right column. So you would think that if I have 1 bottle and I press the negative button, that it would make it 0 and thus remove that product. That's not the case. If I press negative, it actually switches it to -1. So what this tells Shortcuts is I'm actually returning this product so I can get a refund. So this will actually tell Shortcuts this product is being returned. This is how much I owe the customer. So this is a faster way of handling refunds for the client rather than going into the history. You still have that ability in Shortcuts to search for a customer's product history, right-click against it, and select refund. And it will bring up this window and say, this is a -1 product. But right from this window, if the front desk is busy and you need to do a really quick refund, you can just go -1. If I manually type in a 0, it will get rid of that product. Or if I press the trash can icon on the right side, it will also eliminate that product. So what else did we change on this window? Well, at the top of the screen. So of course you will see customers that are in service, customers that are ready to check out. They're on the bottom of the list. Up at the top, you still have the access for walk-in customers, checking out walk-in or retail, and grouping customers. One thing we've added is business. So if your salon or your spa or your barbershop needs to track backbar, needs to track professional products, you can check them out directly in the point of sale. So you would choose hashtag business, and the employee that usually gets credit for this is also the business. So now I can find any professional products that I use, and then Shortcuts, when I press finish sale, will deduct these from my inventory. So if you haven't been tracking your back bar, now's a good time to start using that so that your reports are accurate. Shortcuts knows exactly what your inventory is going through. So this is hashtag business, one of the new features in the point of sale. So are there any questions on the point of sale window for those people that have the new build of shortcuts or those that are using the previous build of shortcuts? And as you're writing out your question, Chrissy, did you have a question? I noticed that the little hand icon appeared as the raised hand. Now, for those that are using the new builder shortcuts, this is a question that has come up over the last couple of weeks. If your business does a start of day, then usually you remember when you press start day or start session, shortcuts used to pre-populate how much was in the register based on your closing amount from the night before. In the newest build, the staff always has to enter that amount. So it will no longer pre-populate. And this is designed so that the staff has to count the register and confirm the money that you close with is the money that you're opening with. This is not a feature that can be changed, at least not now. So you will have the staff, you just let them know they have to count and confirm when you're starting your day. If the amount matches what it was when you did your end of day, then shortcuts will allow you to press done like normal. If, however, there is a discrepancy, shortcuts will actually have a pop-up window for security reasons to say, why is your starting float different from the night before? So this is how you have a log, this is how you have a record that the staff is doing their due diligence. Okay, so I think we've got all of those questions settled, and I'll go ahead and finish this sale. So I think we have all of the questions settled and all of the previews for what we've updated on our appointment book, updated on our walk-in manager, updated on our point of sale. And the entire purpose is to streamline the process, make it easier on your team, make it easier on your front desk to get customers in and out. So there are a few other changes on the backend, but if you're used to shortcuts, then despite the changes of the colors, the changes of the buttons, you'll notice that everything is still pretty much functional and still the same. One thing I will point out is if you're making adjustments to your service menu, adding services, changing prices, you'll notice that the details button that used to appear on the bottom right has been pushed to the bottom left so that it's next to the new button. So details is these three dots, and that allows you to jump in, adjust your time, adjust your prices. So just get used to the three dots. That's our new details button. Previously it was a wrench, but now it makes a little more sense when you're in the appointment book and you see those three dots. That means, oh, I want more details for this appointment. Simple as that. So now let's jump back into our presentation and no more of that classy music. So the other thing we need to talk about is if you're using shortcuts and if you have a standalone credit card machine, something you probably want to consider is signing up for our new global payments. So this is our integrated payment processor. We've worked with a lot of vendors in the past. We've worked with a lot of companies, and we did our due diligence, and we found a wonderful partner when it comes to credit card integration, so that your machine, your payment processing, all of this goes through Shortcuts. And of course, this is a really big company that is working with us. So they not only handle the integration portion, they also handle the hardware. And their support is excellent. I can't say enough good things about them. So the nice thing about integrated payments is customers have the ability, of course, to pay credit, pay debit, to split the tips, or to put tips directly on the machine so that the front desk doesn't have to punch in a bunch of information in the Shortcuts terminal or on your separate credit card machine. There's no more looking at receipts, balancing things out, figuring how you're going to split the tip. The machine allows that to go through. And on the point of sale machine, if your front desk person knows that tips aren't necessarily split 50-50, they're split based on the amount of the service that was performed. So, for example, if one employee did a shampoo and another employee actually did a haircut and a color, and the customer put a $50 or $60 tip on all of the services they received, you don't necessarily want the person that did the shampoo to get a $30 tip. So there's actually an option in the point of sale in Shortcuts to split the tip proportionally based on the value of the service the customer received. So again, there's no arguing with it. The front desk can just choose which option you should be splitting it with. So we still, of course, offer the ability to accept credit cards if you have an outage with your internet, if you have a computer that goes down, you still have that access, and you can upgrade at no charge. And if you're using our previous partner for credit card integration, then of course this can come in handy because their rates are very competitive. They're better than just about everybody else, plus their support, plus the ability to integrate with the new build of Shortcuts. It makes global payments the obvious partner for us to work with. So if you're thinking about it, if you're on the fence, if you have an old credit card system, now might be the time to upgrade. Especially if you're using an older version of Shortcuts and you're also thinking about upgrading your Shortcuts as well. So go ahead and review the slides when we send out the video again. So it'll help break down some of the information that we have. But we also, of course, have our customer care team. If you need to find out what the rates are, or if you want to upgrade today or later, you can always give us a call. And of course, since the payment types are integrated, all of this gets reported on through Shortcuts. So we have over 120 different reports built into Shortcuts. And if you're very concerned with how customers are paying, how tips are being processed, breakdowns of payment types, everything goes through Shortcuts. So you absolutely have all of your numbers. You don't have to go to any other web page or print out anything else to see the information. So that brings us to the end of our live Q&A. So you should now have a sense as to all of the new features in our appointment book, our walk-in manager, and our point of sale. And streamlining is really the big thing. We've made Shortcuts a lot easier to access, a lot easier to use. And I talked a little bit about our new global payments, so our integrated payment processor. So we're going to open up the floor for you. So if you have any other questions with Shortcuts, this is a live Q&A after all, so you are allowed to ask questions. So let's take a look. Can I change the reasons for cancellations? Good question, Lynn. Let's jump out of here. So if we go, of course, a customer, we right click it and we go to delete, you have your reasons here. I'll cancel this. So some of the things you can change. If we'll go to Setup, Configuration, on the left side, we're going to General, and if we scroll down, there's a Reasons block. So you have three options for some of the fields you can modify in Shortcuts. If you're doing inventory, if you're modifying a transaction, or if you're deleting a visit. So these are actually designed more for the back end of the system. I don't think test visit shows up in anywhere other than the point of sale screen. It will not necessarily appear in the appointment book. So if I go to delete this, I do not have test. If I go to point of sale, I will see test transaction as the reason. So there's a few things you can modify, Lynn. That's a long way of saying it, and there's a few things you cannot. Good question, though. Okay. Does anybody else have questions on shortcuts, the functionality, or perhaps some things I didn't get to on today's presentation? And I'll give you a moment. Now, if you're watching this video after the fact, so later today or tomorrow or anytime this week, and you have a question on some functionality, something I didn't talk about, you can absolutely reach out to education. So we're at education@shortcuts.net, and either myself or one of my colleagues will get back to you. And you can also reach out to us on social media. So I always mention this on our regular Tuesday classroom sessions. If you reach out to us on Facebook or Instagram, we do check those and we will get back to you. So let's go back. So if you're interested in our integrated payments, if you think now's the time that you want to upgrade, now that hopefully most of the locations are starting to open up, starting to get at capacity, now would be a good time to see about upgrading. So go ahead and reach out to us. For our customer care team, we have our 800 number there, and just press option 2 to go directly to customer care, or you can send them an email if you want to find out more information. And again, you can also reach out to education@shortcuts.net or ask us on social media. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, we do check those, and we will get back to you. Okay, if there are no other questions, thank you all for attending. Apologies for the delay on this presentation. And as always, we do have Tuesday classroom sessions. So if you're new to Shortcuts, or if you have a manager or team member that's new to Shortcuts and they're trying to get up to speed, every Tuesday we cover one of the basic functions in Shortcuts. So tune in on Tuesdays at 9 Pacific just to get up to speed. And we will put all of those videos online as they become available. So thank you all. We'll be sending out a recording a little bit later, and hopefully we'll be planning more live sessions in the future. Have a great day.